All right, guys, what is going on? Back again, iCoach VIP members. Guys, today I have an extremely special guest, Miss Gilbert. She doesn't know who I am, but I first heard of her like 10 years ago, right when I got into the field, and I know her husband, through the social media world and all these formatter seminars and things like that. And so, honestly, I'm kind of fanboying out right now. To be quite honest. So thank you so much for coming on the show. And what's going on? How are you?
Thank you for having me. I can't believe 10 years is a long time ago. You're probably like 12.
I started personal training when I was 18 years old. So
wow. Yeah. That's cool. No, it's an honor, to be here. I always am feel very humbled when I'm asked to do these things. So it's pleasure to be here. So hopefully I can provide you guys with all answers to any questions you have without being too X-rated, but there's no promises there.
Yes. Well, I bring on the X-rated. I love your content and everything. It's hilarious.
It's funny actually that you mentioned that. My social media guy made me aware last week that Facebook has flagged me as someone trying to peddle adult content and therefore will not accept any of the ads that he's trying to run through. So I allegedly have to tone it down a little bit in the language that I use. It's so ridiculous.
That's so funny. Well, you see the guys like Gary Vaynerchuk and these guys that cuss all the time, and
yeah.
I feel like they've kind of made it a little more mainstream and acceptable, in these big speaking events and whatnot. So. Yeah, that's funny. Facebook.
I know. And Instagram too, obviously, because, they own each other. Right. But, just the same reason why you can't say, are you fat? You have to say, is someone want to lose weight? I have to say, is there somebody who would like to increase their libido or their sex drive? Actually, I don't even think I can use libido because that's too offensive. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I hear you. You definitely have to be careful these days, right? You don't want to hurt people's feelings. So kind of what I want to do here first is just tell the audience a little bit more about yourself and kind of how you got started into the field and then kind of what you currently do now.
So with my background being golf fitness, that segued into being the trainer of men. Where I live in Greenwich, Connecticut is a very wealthy area. We have 9 golf clubs here. And, through all the men that I've worked with, you realize men don't go to the doctor unless they're bleeding out or, something is terribly wrong or it's a sexual dysfunction. And that advocating for men's health is something that's not really as popular as it is for women, because women socially, hormone replacement and all that stuff is just very much talked about. Whereas with guys, if you talk about hormone replacement or testosterone replacement, it's so taboo, it's cheating, it's, a lot of demonization from the media. Doctors don't seem to know the answer. They're not getting answers from their doctor when they do go to the doctor. So I kind of pigeonholed myself as somebody that could carve a niche out of being a men's health coach, because I'm not a doctor, but I play one in the gym. But, I just kind of dove into learning all I could about it because, we're taught to be able to specialize in the way that you specialize in nutrition and fat loss and gut health and all that. To pick something in the world that doesn't make us a generalist trainer. And I am, from what I'm told, I won't say self-proclaimed, but a non-threatening person to speak to, because I desensitize the information by making it fun and making it, presented in a way where, guys, it's okay if you're experiencing erectile dysfunction or, your sex drive is plummeted, or if you're curious about testosterone replacement, it's all completely normal. And I'm not the wife, nagging them to go to the doctor, nor am I the girlfriend who they may be embarrassed to bring this up with. So that's kind of how, in a short version, I got into this. But golf fitness, yeah, it's they don't really relate, but that's how I got here.
Wow, that's interesting. That's a really cool story. I mean, I'm always so interested to just like hear how people, get into the field. For me, it was like a 24-hour fitness, experience where I started off at like the front desk, like folding towels, making minimum wage. So
Yeah.
in life, and I had no idea what I was going to do or what I was passionate about. And one day a trainer came up to me and he was like, "Hey, you want to work out with us?" And I was like, "Sure." And then he was like, "Why don't you become a trainer?" And I was like, "What the hell is a trainer?" Right? Here we are today. But yeah, I love hearing people's stories and how they get into things.
And you never think you would go down that road, but it was hormones are the future. As you realize, there's more people learning about it, and with the what do you call the U.S. healthcare system being so atrocious that there's really no middle person to, if you're not going to do concierge medicine, which is going to cost a lot of money, and you may seek out an alternative medical practitioner through a naturopath or a functional medicine practitioner, which are all great, but there's still the busy factor of they don't have time to answer all the zillions of questions, and they don't know how to talk the fitness language. So they need somebody to kind of handhold them. And I think of myself as that person where I can answer the medical questions, but I can also apply what they're going through into a intelligent fitness program. So it's like you're the medical liaison in a way. Because, if you hire a nutritionist or whatever, it's very confusing for people. As nutrition is like so offensive in so many ways. Oh my gosh. You mention one thing and people very much like to adhere to diets. So it's, a lot of education that we have to provide to people. And we do it in a very loving way because we really care about our clients, and we're not, jammed up with patients so much that doctors are. So we can provide that info to people.
Yeah. And I think that's so incredibly important. I think, we're starting to see more and more of the importance of it, obviously from an individualization standpoint, but just that human interaction, like somebody feeling like they actually have somebody that they can go and talk to about all these different things, and somebody that's actually on their team and wants them to be successful and holds them accountable and, all these things. But yeah, I'm a huge fan. Our company, iCoach Nutrition, the I, like an iPhone, that I stands for individualized, right? And like every single person is completely different. And that's really how we go through the assessment process, through the coaching, and everything that we do. So yeah, I think we're seeing more of it, or at least I like to believe. But yeah, there's still a lot of the kind of cookie cutter templates and things like that are out there. Unfortunately, I'm just looking back. So what I want to dive into with you is I want to go specifically into testosterone and with males in particular. So let's start off with, like, can you just kind of like define like, what is testosterone and where is testosterone produced?
Oh, I have no idea. I just talk about it. No, I'm kidding. So testosterone, I usually describe it as the winning hormone, or the male hormone that gives guys their secondary sex characteristics, facial hair, that V taper, all that stuff, the deep voice. And without that, you really don't have the same vitality or sense of drive or warrior sense that you would as a man. And basically, the testosterone is produced mainly through the testicles, and there's a signal that gets sent from the brain to the testicles to produce testosterone. And then what happens mostly is something disrupts that signal. So the testicles are the gonads, or the sex organs of the body, and in women it's the ovaries. And men can present with what's called hypogonadism. So that can be primary or secondary. Primary is when, you get kicked in the testicles, or there's some sort of trauma there, or a varicocele, which is like a vein that, causes some entrapment, or any type of trauma where all of a sudden the testicles cannot produce testosterone. most people, especially nowadays, especially the clientele that you and I see who are very underfed, overtrained, hyper-stressed, will present with secondary hypogonadism, which means up here, something disrupted the signal, and that's usually some sort of stress. And as you know, stress is in the form of emotional, physical, dieting, dehydration, like anything. Mostly it's technology. But present day, men are basically at an epidemic where, it's almost 2019. So in the 80s, since the 80s, sperm production has declined about 60%, and that's a lot. And men are kind of, becoming more feminine, not in the sense that, they're dressing feminine so much as it's just an evolution from all the things in the environment and plastics and, stuff that we used to think was so woo-woo, hippie hugging, or, whatever that stuff is now reality, using glass containers and, staying away from certain things, our food quality. I mean, the whole romaine lettuce thing is, a very big eye opener to a lot of people. So that's kind of like a long-winded version, and I'm probably already answering one of your other questions, so I'll shut up for now.
No, that was great. I think you touched on a little bit what that next question we were going to dive into. We're in kind of the functions of testosterone, kind of like, I know you mentioned a few, but kind of breaking down like primary versus secondary functions of testosterone. Was there any more that you wanted to mention that you didn't already?
No. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it.
Okay, cool. So what are, like, let's say for instance, like somebody, like how do we even know, or how can somebody like get tested? Like, how do you even know if you have low testosterone? What are the symptoms that you see are most common?
So, the biggest symptoms, and they're very, very similar to depression. So, and this can happen, I mean, I've seen, guys in their 20s showing with very low testosterone, but all of a sudden you feel very lethargic, very unmotivated, very hard to keep muscle mass on, similar depression, like you just have no zest for life, frequency of morning erections. If that starts to diminish, then, something's up. Obviously low sex drive, low libido. If you have all of a sudden your heart numbers on blood work just skyrockets out of nowhere, and your labs, but your diet has not really changed that much. So, a lot of those factors, specifically fat storage pattern being more feminine, like in the hips and that area. And then men will get more abdominal fat, man boobs. So, it's a pretty long list, but those are kind of the biggest indicators. And the way is just to get blood work, but that's very much a loaded question sometimes because the range also is very large. So depending on the lab, it's anywhere from like 250 to 1100. And actually LabCorp in 2017 lowered the range from both ends because so many men were presenting with lower levels of testosterone. And say, you're your age, you're 15 years old, and you go in to get your blood work done. So, no, I'm kidding. So say, even if you're 33, 35, whatever, someone who's considered young, right? You go and get your lab work done, you feel like crap, but your test levels are 270. There are many doctors who will say, well, you're in range. And you can still present with many symptoms, feel like horrible, but they'll still go by what the paper says. And so they're chasing a range. They're chasing a lab value. And the technical cutoff is 500. So, if you're 35 years old with a 500 testosterone, is that bad? Is that good? It's really neither. It's more, do you have symptoms? Because some guys feel amazing at like 450, and then some guys feel terrible if, they're up at 900 and they're on TRT to bring them to that 900. So bottom line was the range is very, very large. So, if I tell you I squat 250 versus, hey, I squat 1100, like, that's a big difference. So it's understanding, if you're of a certain age and you have low levels, it really doesn't matter how old you are. If your levels are low, they shouldn't be there. It does decline with age. However, it doesn't have to be that way. So, don't be afraid to ask about testosterone replacement if you're a candidate for it, specifically if you're over the age of 40 and you're done having children. I'm going on a tangent again, so.
No, all good stuff. Addressing some of the stuff, but all good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I don't know how much you want to speak on this, but a lot of people, let's say for instance, like what if they are having symptoms and they go into their doctor and they get blood work done and the doctor comes back and they're like, there's nothing wrong with you. So like, what's the next step after
that? To hire you or me. So, regardless of whether, somebody's going to go on testosterone replacement, because, a lot of people are afraid of it because A, they're embarrassed, and B, they've heard so many bad things. There's not one study that shows that it causes any type of cancer. It actually helps reduce heart disease as well. So we'll get that out of the way. But so what does somebody do when they kind of get rejected by their doctor? I would say keep searching for a doctor that understands it and understands what you're going through. Now, can you optimize your levels without going on hormone replacement? Yes, there's many things lifestyle-wise, and that's why I made the joke of hiring you and I, because, within your life, sleeping and nutrition and the amount of movement that you're getting during the day, those are all huge factors that can contribute. And maybe you have some vitamin and mineral deficiencies. And those are some that are related directly to testosterone, like vitamin D and zinc and magnesium. Those are probably the top three. And so understanding what you can do from that level to help you feel better will kind of help get you to where you want to be. Because even if you go on TRT, if you don't fix your lifestyle to where you're managing stress, you can't eliminate stress, you're managing stress, you're eating a certain way and you're getting enough sleep, then it's not going to work. You're going to need higher dosages. And then that does come with side effects when you're on dosages that are too high for what your body can actually use. So that's where somebody who can intervene with proper lifestyle and tell you when to slow down when you don't want to is major. A lot of my guys are high-powered CEOs. They go to Wall Street. And my biggest fight with them is to not train every day and, to get them to slow down. And, sleep is weak. I can sleep when I'm dead. I can hop off a red eye and go right into a session. And no, you can't. And I'm happy to take your money, but, I feel very unethical about giving somebody a workout that's going to make them feel annihilated when they're actually going to be worse in the next 2 weeks. So it's understanding when to put on the brakes, modify the training program so that you feel like you did something, but it's not going to crush you hormonally, and then supplementing appropriately. And then if things don't improve after, so long, consider hormone replacement. And that can come in many different delivery systems and methods. It doesn't necessarily have to be injectable.
Got it. So in terms of I get this question all the time, with somebody that has got on testosterone replacement therapy, is that something that they, once they get on it, they're on it forever, or how does that work? Because I get that question a lot.
With people who have, usually guys over 35, 45, yeah. So let me break this up. So if somebody wants to have children still, but they're also still a candidate for testosterone replacement, most doctors will use Clomid with them, which is a fertility drug for women, but actually stimulates the cells in the testicles to produce sperm and testosterone. And it's an estrogen modulator, really. So it does not suppress their endogenous testosterone production. It actually increases it by, making the estrogen, I'm trying to put this in English, turns the estrogen away from the brain so it doesn't see so much, so it increases the testosterone levels. When you go an injectable or any type of actual testosterone replacement, that will suppress the body's sperm production. So your likelihood of conceiving is not as high as if you were on something like Clomid. And then it also suppresses two hormones that stimulate the testicles to produce testosterone, which are luteinizing and follicle stimulating hormone. But anyway, those get suppressed when you're on exogenous testosterone. And, you know, regardless, if your endogenous levels are suppressed, they're never going to get to the level that you want them to be. So no matter what, you know, you do when you're in your 40s and 50s, you're never going to get to your levels that you were when you're 19. So a lot of men say, well, that's going to stop my own production. And you're right, it will, but your own production was here, and being on TRT will take you here. So the side effects of that are just feeling really good and, you know, getting to where they want to be physically and mentally, because it does help them think clearly and sleep a lot better. That yes, you're on that for life. So that is something to take into consideration via the delivery system. So, you know, just understanding that, but they won't want to really come off because they'll feel so good. But men who go on Clomid, you know, in their 20s or 30s, if something's not working appropriately in the brain, it kind of gives it a jump start, and then they can see if the body will start producing on its own again. But usually once you're on the injections, when you're done having children and all that, then you're on for life. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that clears it up. That makes a lot of sense. So obviously there's, you know, like you said, there's a whole bunch of different factors that affect testosterone levels. And obviously, you know, at my age and you know, your 30s, like leading up to that point, we want to try to control these nutrition, lifestyle, exercise factors as much as possible so that we're not in a bad situation. So like, let's dive into each one of those kind of categories. Like we'll just start with diet. And so like specifically, like how does your diet affect testosterone levels? Dive into like, you know, meat quality and things like that.
So, really funny story. So, Anthony J., who wrote the book, Astro Generation, which if you read this book, which you should, it's a really good book. It's a very quick read, but it'll make you not want to leave your house or breathe or do anything. But he is a doctor at the Mayo Clinic. However, he's a genetic researcher who researches how we affect our genes and change our genes, but also he does a lot of research on xenoestrogens, phytoestrogens, all the endocrine or hormone disrupting stuff in our environment, our skincare products, our plastics, all that stuff. So in his book, you know, he mentions there's a study done on feedlot cattle. So grain fed the entire way, cattle just, you know, done, you know, just the whole time. There's a level of atrazine, which is a herbicide, second most used herbicide. The levels of atrazine in their blood, that's what the study was done on. Now, it takes 200 nanograms per deciliter of this stuff to change a male frog into a female frog. The legal limit allowed in our drinking water is 3,000 nanograms per deciliter. In these cattle, in their blood, they found 700,000 nanograms per deciliter of estrogen. So obviously that's going to affect us. So, you know, I understand not everybody can afford organic, and that's totally fine. The one thing that you want to do by organic is the beef, and any type of meat that is higher in fat, because the hormones will accumulate in the fat of animals. So that's where you would prioritize the finances for organic food. So these pesticides, like they're so terrible. That and you know, Roundup, which has glyphosate in it, which is now common term a lot because Cheerios and all those other products have glyphosate in it. You know, these things are not allowed in other countries, but in the US, we, you know, love it. And obviously, you know, it's killing our food quality. So I get it when people are like, I don't even know what the fuck to eat anymore. And I'm like, dude, I hear you. I don't even know either. but, prioritize organic, grass-fed, grass-finished if you can. Local farmers are the best. Do not cut out cholesterol, and do not be afraid of eating healthy fats like avocados and stuff like that, because they do make cholesterol, which cholesterol makes sex hormones. So we need cholesterol to make testosterone. And then oysters have a lot of zinc in them. That's why they're thought of as an aphrodisiac, because of the amount of zinc. And zinc works as a weak aromatase inhibitor. I know, aromatase. What is aromatase? So aromatase is an enzyme in your body that basically takes your testosterone and turns it into estrogen. And aromatase hangs out in body fat. And basically when we drink alcohol, when we don't sleep, things like, stress, increases the activity of aromatase. So zinc weekly can kind of block that. So that whole process. And there has been, serum levels increasing from using zinc. So that's one thing that definitely you want to get in your diet. Vitamin D, you're going to have to supplement with. Nobody is sufficient in that. And magnesium, they have it in spinach and some other greens, but it's definitely something they're going to want to supplement with as well. But, you can't get enough good vegetables in if people can handle it. If you've got severe gut problems, baby food is a great option. I've got major gut issues, and I eat a lot of baby food. I look really weird doing it, but I don't care really.
Do you make your baby food, or do you buy it, or how does it
right now I buy it. I don't have the patience really, or I don't even know how I would make it. I suppose it's the same as making a protein shake, just with vegetables.
Yeah. Well, I asked because we have our first child on the
Oh,
way.
that's right. Yeah.
And my wife is sold on the fact that she's going to make all of the baby food. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's like juicing, where it's very laborious, and the baby food's it's like $1 for some of these things. I just started working with Luke Lehman, and he told me to start eating baby food. So, that was like a big tangent off that question. So, but dietary wise, obviously do not be scared of carbohydrates, please. So many of my guys, it's the first thing that they do. It's what anyone really does, obviously, because they've been demonized. But, if you go too low in anything, too low in carb, too low in fat, too low in protein, it will tank your test levels. So, it definitely, men can do better on a lower carb diet than women. However, that does not mean slash your carbohydrates, specifically if you're doing CrossFit or any type of high intensity activity that requires the use of carbohydrates, because then you're going to feel horrible. So.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Real quick, you mentioned the supplements, magnesium, vitamin D. Can you touch on real quick, just kind of like the importance of like the quality of supplements and where you're sourcing them from?
Yeah. So that's a big problem. Actually, I was a big, before I started doing a lot more consulting, I was ordering all my supplements off Amazon because it's so easy. But what we don't realize is a lot of those are third-party sellers from who knows where. So, I have a wholesale account with Thorne right now. Thorne is a fantastic company because what they say is in their products is actually in their products. And this is not a sales pitch at all. I actually, use an online dispensary called Full Script, which is you have to be a nutrition coach or doctor in order to have an account. And they're all supplements similar to Thorne, but the highest quality, and they actually say, what they say they're putting in, they actually put in there. I don't make any money off of it because I don't want to come across as, some of those naturopaths sometimes that test specifically to sell supplements. I just do it as an easy way to say, hey, I think you should take these. So otherwise, because then you're taking, you see randomly in the news that certain companies, they were found to have like cornstarch and all these random things. And, you want to make sure it's working, because then if you don't think it's working, which you're not really going to feel a lot of supplements working, but if you don't feel better from what you're taking, then we have to dismiss that as, all right, maybe that's not appropriate. Or if it shows up where your body's not taking it in on labs, like all of a sudden the receptors are just rejecting whatever we're taking, then, why is that? Could be the quality of the supplements or lack thereof.
Yeah, no, I got it. Well, good thing is I always recommend Thorns, so
they're great. Yeah.
Awesome. So that's diet, guys. When we start to look into from an exercise standpoint, how does working out too much or not working out at all, or doing way too much cardio versus not doing strength training, how does exercise affect testosterone levels?
So let's see what the best place to start with this. So when we train, that yields certain responses from hormones. Now, cortisol gets a very bad rap, very, very, very bad rap, but it actually serves a huge purpose. So we want cortisol to be high when we train because it's not alone. So hormones are very much like people. They behave differently in their social setting. So when cortisol is high during training, it's also high with growth hormone and testosterone and adrenaline, the catecholamines. So together, when they're all hanging out together, that's a very potent fat-burning soup. When cortisol hangs out by itself, it's not so much fat burning as it is breaking down of muscle. So we want to be ramped up. We want all that when we're training. And then when we're done training, the rest of the day, we want that cortisol level to come down, which means we have to manage our stress. So being elevated chronically all day, how does that happen? Probably number one is if we're training too hard and our body is too stressed out, then it's just going to constantly produce all the stress hormones in lieu of producing sex hormones, because when our body doesn't know the difference between staying alive and dying or that we're just training too much. So it's going to try to maintain our life and create homeostasis by saying, you know what, we don't need to procreate right now because we're, in a state of fear. So I'm just going to keep putting out all these stress hormones, and you're going to feel like wired but tired, but that's what you have to deal with. So when we train, we want it to be high. The rest of the day, we want it to be low. And how do we do that? We can eat carbohydrates to bring it down, because when we eat carbs or any sugars, it releases a hormone called insulin that opposes cortisol. So too much high intensity work is basically a surefire way to tank your testosterone levels, because modern day, nobody can recover from that. If you're a professional athlete, you have time to nap, you have time to eat 6,000 to 8,000 calories a day, you have no children, you have no family life, you have no social life, nothing whatsoever. Absolutely. Train twice a day, 3 times a day, knock yourself out. But if you're a normal person and you want a life and a social life, that's not necessarily the way to go. It could actually backfire. The body needs time to recover. And if it doesn't get that time to recover, then you're not going to build muscle. It's just going to be this vicious cycle of just breaking yourself down. And you'll notice that if, your weights are not going up in the gym, if you're just not motivated to train, if you need 4 scoops of pre-workout versus 1, if you're just depending on caffeine, your morning erection goes down the tubes, all those are signs of training too much. So there's such the fitness industry swings, very far. And I think, 10 years ago, it was the corrective exercise phase where people were very delicate and had to do all these corrective exercises. And then maybe you get to lift in 3 months. So now we're on the high intensity phase, and high intensity is like coconut oil. It cures everything. It causes fat loss. It's everything to everybody. When in reality, the whole fuck cardio phase really needs to go away, and we have to get back to doing more aerobic work, because that's how our body lives, is in an aerobic state. So when you breathe, that's aerobics, not high intensity. If you're breathing high intensity, we've got other problems, but slow respiration, So yes, cardio has a place because it will actually help you recover in between your sets. It will help you recover on your off days. It will actually better allow your body to burn fat. And it won't, like if you walk up the stairs and you're getting winded, that means you need to do some more cardiovascular work. And it does not have to be boring on an elliptical. It can be something fun, but that's where, using a heart rate monitor and stuff like that will come into play. But you want to have, that feeling of heavy lifting, because that'll yield all the hormonal release. And then the burning feeling from doing some of the higher intensity stuff, just not every single day. And then, like that pump feeling that you get from doing higher rep stuff, releases a lot of growth hormone, and growth hormone helps recovery. And the biggest place growth hormone is released is during sleep. So that is huge. I mean, I always throw out, there's a study that, they took these guys, and it's a legit study where they deprived them of sleep 5 hours or less for a week. Their test levels dropped 15%. So it's a lot, and that's just 1 week. So I know a lot of people who live sleep deprived, and it's pick and choose with the workouts. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can attest to it. I stopped competing in CrossFit 3 years ago, but I qualified for regionals twice. And during that time, I was in school full time, in my nutrition degree. I was working full time, 60 hours a week. I was getting like 5-6 hours of sleep, and then training 3 hours a day, high intensity CrossFit at a regional level. And I completely ran myself from the ground. Like these days, over the last 3 years since I was competing in CrossFit, I used to train like 3 hours a day. Now I train like 3 times per week. So
you probably feel and look way better than you were.
Yeah, I think the only thing that saved me is that I think I did at least fuel myself properly in terms of like not under eating, because a lot of people eat. Like I was actually hitting that 5,000-6,000 calories a day, but I also wasn't doing it through strict paleo or something like that. Like I was crushing like a pint of Ben and Jerry's almost every single night just to cap off, like the calories. And supplementing my face off too, so that too.
Well, something to take into account too, and I'm glad you brought that up. So new fathers, men who have babies, their test levels will drop for about a year. And that's mostly because of some sort of evolutionary thing to keep you from procreating elsewhere, but also has to do with less sleep as well.
Yeah, that's honestly my biggest fear about this whole child thing. I'm like,
oh, it comes back. It comes back.
It just
tanks. Yeah, it tanks for like a year. And so it's important to remember too, if you get blood work done and all of a sudden, your test levels are like 300, but that's because you're sleeping 3 hours a night and just had a kid. Your doctor necessarily won't ask you that.
Yeah. So, well, and it probably isn't going to be a good time for me to, do high intensity CrossFit after getting 3 hours of sleep, right?
Yeah.
So
like you literally, people never say, oh my gosh, I have to drop some fat, I should go take a nap or have an orgasm, when that's exactly what they should do instead. And seriously, we have this discussion now. It's not like the first thing I say to people, but just like I encourage male trainers to talk to women about their menstrual periods, I will talk to guys about their morning erections. And that took me a while to mention on the first day all the time, especially when you have, these very serious Wall Street guys come in and they think they know everything. And I'm just like, so how's your morning erection? They're like,
oh, I love it.
And then, 10 minutes later, it's like this open book of all these digestive issues and everything. And it's like, you come to me for golf fitness, but I know what golf fitness really means.
I completely agree. Like I joke all the time. I'm like, we advertise as like nutrition coaching, but it's so much deeper than that.
Oh yeah. Because nobody comes to us like, I feel amazing, I just want a nutrition coach.
Right. Exactly. You're so right. All right, cool. I want to make sure I respect your time here. Let's dive into a few more. So let's dive into the environmental side of it, and then we'll dive into the alcohol side of it. So we'll go environmental first. How does environmental toxins, you mentioned earlier, I think you said like pesticides, parabens, what's the other P? Pesticides, parabens, and
plastic.
Plastic, yeah. You mentioned
where we find those, yeah. So, it's like, in all my seminars, the way they've evolved is I add one more thing that's kind of weird in there, because if I go all out with all this, like stay away from this, people kind of just shut down and they think I'm whacked, which, you know, I am a little bit. We all have to be a little bit. But the places that these EDCs, or endocrine disrupting chemicals, so your endocrine system is what produces your hormones. So there's all these chemicals that disrupt that, and basically they act as, you know, estrogen in your body, and then they bind to the receptors in there, and then, you know, your body thinks it's pregnant, whether you're a guy or a girl. So and it really messes with the hormones. So heating anything up in plastic or drinking water out of plastic, I think, would be probably the easiest thing to change, and water filters, because we're actually now seeing the effects of birth control 30 years later. And when women are on birth control and they use the restroom, they excrete all those estrogens and they don't get filtered out. It's a big problem. And I gave a talk in the UK a few weeks ago, and I was telling them how the estrogen found in the water is 10 times more potent than the estrogen that is found in the actual birth control, because just the way that it is in chemically in the water. And they were just like staring at me, because, you know, they're a little bit more conservative. But I was like, you know, how many girls do you know who are on birth control? And it's the same problem over there. And they're actually like 3% behind us, with the country being, you know, in obesity. So it's a major issue. So filtering your water with something that has activated charcoal or carbon in it will be sure to get rid of the estrogens. So that's a big one. You know, also things that have red dyes in them, like your pre-workouts that have red number 40 and red number 3. Those are actually the most estrogenic dyes. And I found this in Anthony J's book. And those actually come with a warning label in Europe, but in the US, we don't have to say anything about it. We can just put it in anything. So, you know, I used to love Powerade Zero, and I didn't even realize the purple one had red number 40 in it, you know, stuff like that. Yeah. You know, eliminating those is a big one. And just go all glass with, you know, food and water. And a lot of my guys who play golf and everything, I'm like, if you have a hot water bottle in your car, throw it out. Don't drink it. You know, it's going to be highly estrogenic.
Especially in the summer in Texas.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It's crazy. So, you know, stainless steel and glass are really the way to go. Stainless steel for, you know, carrying your water around, glass for storing food. It's going to be your best bet. Let's see what else is kind of freaky. So, lavender, actually, anything with lavender in it, oils, soaps, stuff like that. Marijuana use that's excessive can actually increase osteoporosis in guys. So it's more about eliminating the estrogens that are in these things than it is eliminating estrogen in a man's body too. I want to make that clear, because guys need some estrogen, and if your estrogen goes too low, it can cause the same side effects as having too low tests. Like you lose your erection, you lose your libido, you kind of just feel like crap overall. So, you know, and the food quality, which we already discussed. But if I had to say, like, you know, lifestyle wise, definitely just switch to glass and filter your water. Those are probably huge. There's a lot of other things, you know, that we can go down a rabbit hole, like EMFs coming from Wi-Fi, like shut your Wi-Fi off at night. Don't keep your phone near you. Like that's not realistic, but there are practitioners that will tell people to do that. I'm not there yet because I just know it'll be met with an eye roll, but you know, things to take into account in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, especially with the guys that you work with, and I have, you know, we have clients as well that are these high performers. They're going on client lunches, client dinners, they're traveling all the time. Like, how, like, does it matter? This is the question I always get. Like, does it really matter if I drink, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 days a week? And I'm like, so
yeah. Excuse me. Does it matter? Yeah. So let's put it this way. My rule with my guys because I know that they're going to do client entertaining similar to you guys, and people want to enjoy themselves. I'm not going to take alcohol away from them. I tell them alcohol or starch, but not both. You can get away with protein veggies at dinner and then order alcohol and we're good. It's not really going to, kill you body comp wise. Alcohol with starch, alcohol is the first thing to get metabolized. Your body says, oh, this is really quick to use for energy, so I'm going to metabolize this first, and then anything you eat with it will kind of get put on hold. Well, if we eat carbs with that, any type of carbs, specifically starchy ones, we don't really want those stored for later. And then alcohol also ramps up the aromatase activity. So the thing that turns testosterone into estrogen. So it'll increase that. It also, let's see, I had one guy who came to me online sleeping 4 hours a night and would wake up in the middle of the night because he'd have a couple drinks before going to bed, and wanted to lose weight. And basically he was gaining it all in his stomach. So obviously it messes with your cortisol patterns, which you and I know. But a lot of people don't realize that they think it helps them sleep. It doesn't help you sleep. It helps you pass out, which I posted recently. Yeah, you'll pass out, but then you'll wake up at like 3 or 4 a.m. So, I told him, I said, I can't have you training this much. He was training like 5 days a week. I said, can we go to training once a week and can we work on sleep? And you realize these people are paying you to tell them something ass backwards from what people read in the media. But I needed him to trust me. And 2 weeks later, he lost an inch on his belt and he was like, oh my God, I don't understand. And I'm like, dude, you're sleeping. Like, we only got to 6 hours, but it's way more than you were at, So it does mess with you. And, everyone tolerates it differently. I know when I was in my 20s, I can drink my face off, get up, go to the gym, 6 a.m. I'd be like, I'm ready. Now, if I have like one glass of vodka, forget it. Like it ruins me for like 3 days. So, just understand your limit. Don't try to go to the gym and work it off the next day. You're actually going to do your body a disservice because it does dehydrate you so much. You're more susceptible to injury, to getting sick and everything. So just be aware that this is what it'll do to you. It does not help your body composition. A couple drinks will not ruin your body composition, but it will not further you in the direction you're trying to go.
I love it. Awesome. Well, so many knowledge bombs today. I could probably talk to you for like 5 hours, but I definitely
we'll have to do it again.
Yeah, we can do it again sometime. Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on. Where can everybody find you at? Your website, social media, all of those things.
Yeah. My website is ali-gilbert.com. And then Facebook is my name. And then I'm trying to think, I don't remember. My Instagram is like _Ali_Gilbert because my name is so popular apparently. And then Twitter is _Ali.Gilbert. That's all that, that's all I can have.
I'll put everything below here, guys. And then what was because I know you're a partner. I was kind of reading through your bio and whatnot. You said you're a partner with, who was that again? What is it, Greenwich Academy?
Oh, no, not anymore.
Oh, not anymore. Oh, okay. Got it.
No, what bio is that? I have to delete that.
On your website.
Oh, I should get that off.
Yeah, what does it say? Let me see. Yeah, I think it's at like the very top.
Is that off my Ali Gilbert website?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll tell my web guy. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, awesome. Guys, go check her out. And she also speaks at the seminars Perform Better. So any coaches that are watching this, if you want to go check her out there. You don't have like any books or anything like that you've done?
We're working on the book.
Working on it?
Yeah, my biz coach is on me about that. So we'll get there.
Yeah. Well, good. I can't wait to read it. Well, awesome. Ali, thank you so much for coming on again. I'm going to sign us off here and then we'll finish things off.
Thank you.